we'll talk about this all right now, Stephanie McMahon opening Smackdown, leading the audience in a thank you Vince chant. If anything does come out, how much worse is that going to look?
Well, but it couldn't have been any colder if she was Mr. Freeze, right? Was that a daughter announcing the retirement of her beloved father who had led the company for 40 years? Or was that, hey, we're going to get this over with and get on with the show and hope you won't notice? 3 minutes. It was 3 minutes. Vince McMahon, whether you like it or not, Vince McMahon is the biggest name, bar none, the biggest personality, the most dominant force in wrestling over the last 40 years. And on his own show, he got 3 minutes from his daughter. And she's already in the ring and just abruptly breaks the news. There wasn't any buildup of, my father who took this company over from my grandfather 40 years ago and built it into no buildup of him. No, it wasn't a testimonial at a retirement dinner. It was a goddamn, impersonal PR statement to get it out and get it over with. And when she announced that Vince was retiring, there were absolutely no cheers from the crowd, and there was somewhat light and disgruntled booing. And then as soon as she tried to go into her prepared remarks and mention the word thank you, because she was going to give thanks from all of the crew and everybody to the fans, they started chanting, "Thank you, Vince." And she shut them up. No, you're getting ahead of me. Was there ever any organic chant in wrestling that came up, thank you, or whatever, that Vince McMahon would have ever said, jump in and cut it off?
Well, it's a whole new era. If there was ever a sign that there's a new era of WWE, there it is.
But this was so rushed. And you could tell by the way it was rushed and impersonal from his own daughter that it was forced, that if not, she would have baby-faced him. She would have given a reason, even if it was a specious reason, she would have given a reason, a logical reason for him to be retiring. He's almost 80 and he's accomplished so much. And finally, he's decided that it's the time to enjoy his family and the fruits of his labors. And the company will be in capable hands. But of course, my father is irreplaceable. And then they could have done, thank you, Vince. Thank you. It was just so abrupt and uncomfortable to hear his daughter getting it out of there and getting it over with. And
do you think they needed to do something on the show? I mean, the story had just broken less than 4 hours before this. If the show had just started and moved on, it's not like the fans would have just organically started chanting, "We want Vince" or anything. Well, did you have to address this on TV?
I think, yes, the stepping down of, again, the biggest name in the modern era of professional wrestling. He's been known probably more than maybe The Rock now and maybe Stone Cold. I don't even know, but it might be neck and neck with Hulk Hogan that people know who Vince McMahon is. He has name recognition that transcends the wrestling business, and it's his company, and he's led it for 40 years, and they always want a rating. I would have fucking said, hey, at the top of the program, the huge news has been revealed today. Vince McMahon, at the age of 77, is retiring after, he bought the company 40 years ago from his father, and he was an announcer since 70, early 70s. 50 years in wrestling. I would have said Monday night, we're going to have an amazing on Raw career retrospective on Vince McMahon and give the studio all weekend to put together one of the things that they do better than anybody in the fucking world, of a tribute video. And they'd get a number on Monday, and they would play it and make a big deal out of it, and he wouldn't even need to be there in person. But more needed to be said and done. I don't care if people accused him of, sodomizing a fucking Dalmatian on Broadway. the fans are going to be pissed about this because they don't get a goodbye or a big fucking deal out of it. The fans that they've got left, and remember, they've still got 2 or 3 times more than AEW does. So for them, and just for Vince's importance, I don't know why they wouldn't, make a bigger deal. And everybody, he was accused of doing this and that. Their fans and their viewers don't give a shit. He's not accused of committing a crime. He's accused of paying a lot of people a lot of money not to talk about what he did with them in a intimate situation. And
with potentially more to come out. We don't know what's going to come out. If it's really bad, they can't do more than this. Because she's on the board of directors.
None of their audience gives a shit. Now, if something bad comes out, then I will retract that statement. But I'm seeing a lot of, what do they call it? The modus operandi is he's not, tackling people in catering or down in the snack bar at Titan Tower. It's an arranged situation that somehow goes sideways, or with the talent, I would be more amenable to going, oh boy, if they hadn't taken money too. If somebody pisses me off and I'm indignant about it, or I feel like I've been wronged or whatever the case, then I'm going to do one of 2 things. I'm either going to not mention it or I'm going to try to get even. But once I take a couple $1 million for it, I'm thinking that the fucking feelings have been soothed over.
Nah, you can't think like that, because look at what happened to Trump. These women, a lot of them had no idea there were other women who had similar experiences. They hear about that, they come out and they talk about it. And I think,
I didn't
and we don't know the details. And we don't know the details. You
didn't even give Stormy Daniels $5 million, and she was a professional. If he hadn't been so cheap.
We don't know any of the details about what Vince did that would have necessitated all of these payments and potentially more. And if the board of directors is aware of this through their investigation, and she's on the board of directors, and you feel like you have to address it on TV, then this was the only way to do it. If you feel like Vince did nothing wrong, then you do a nice video package of Vince, who just abruptly announced his retirement on Twitter. But they did it a certain way. I think that there's more to come out. I think that the influence of Vince on anything further will be apparent if it's there or not on TV. And that'll be the story, because I think when he made his goodbye, and then he decided he didn't want to leave office. And they couldn't figure out how to get him out. And now they realize whoever it was that talked to him, Jerry McDivitt, his family, again, they announced Triple H was coming back full time that morning. We thought that was going to be the story we'd be talking about today while recording the show.
Yeah, and I'm still pissed because I was waiting to see the mixed tag team match at SummerSlam. Stephanie and Triple H against Vince and Bruce. And now we're not going to get to see that. And I was trying to figure out how they could come up with a finish where Stephanie beat Bruce without hurting herself.
Hey, if Luger could hip toss Yokozuna, she could take Bruce. She could take care of Bruce for a good finish.
That used to be an old line in the locker room back when veterans knew what was going on. They'd be booked with a fucking kid that they were trying to give a push to and wherever, and the kid was going to go over, and the veteran would sit down and look at him and say, "Kid, I just don't know if I can figure out a way to put you over without hurting myself." But anyway, that may be the only explanation for blowing off. It's like Mick Jagger decides to leave the Stones, and they just, okay, well, thank you, Mick. I'll see you later. And no ceremonial tribute.
It would be like if Mick Jagger left the Stones like that, if 2 weeks before he came out and told everyone how much he loves them, that he'll be there forever. Then he made another appearance. And then all of a sudden he announces, you know what? Now is the time to retire. I was wrong.
Well,
now's the time to go. Yeah, all of a sudden.
We'll never know.
No, we may know.